Welcome back to Old School Gamers. Today, we're going to show you how to add spinners to your tank stick. We're going to go from this to this. Let's get into it. Alright, let's go over a couple things before we get started. First, make sure you set aside probably 30 to 45 minutes for this job. I'd say it's about a 6 or 7 out of 10 for difficulty. Just take your time, follow the video. It definitely needs some patience, but you'll be fine. Also, if you have a tank stick without a trackball, go ahead and skip the steps regarding the trackball, obviously, but be aware you're going to need to drill a small hole in the back of the tank stick for the spinners because there isn't one already like the tank stick with the trackball. When ordering your part, just make sure that you select the right one. There are two options, the TV to XR and the tank stick with trackball, tank stick dual, or solo compatible upgrade kit. That's the one that you want. For this project, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, an Allen wrench that will be included in the kit by the way, the arcade nut removal tool, which helps you remove the buttons, and you can actually do that with your own hand strength though. You're also going to need a 10mm nut driver, and that's if you have a trackball. And if you're going to be drilling your own holes, then you need to be able to drill and create a 28mm hole for each spinner. I'll be replacing 2 buttons on my tank stick with spinners instead of drilling new holes because I don't have that bit for my drill and it's more work and creates a mess anyway. When you get your kit, you'll get a USB cable which has a PS2 port as well, which is no longer supported by the way. And inside the box you'll get 2 spinner cover decals, a hardware pack with screws and the Allen wrench you'll need. You'll also get 2 spinners, which will be attached to the TV XR panels. You'll get some more internal cabling, and the PCB combo board. First thing we want to do is get the back panel off. You're going to use your handy dandy Phillips screwdriver and just pull the panel off to the side when you're done. First, let's get the spinners out of those TV XR panels. You'll first want to pull the sensor module off. The sensor module is the part with the white plug on the side. Just pull it towards that plug and the piece will slide right off. What I did also is remove the spinner knob, but this is not really necessary. But next, I removed the USB extension port by loosening the 2 screws that held it to the panel. And I did this so I could get a better grip on the plastic nut because I did not have the arcade button nut tool. But just twist off that plastic holder, then you can slide the spinner body out of the hole and just do the same thing for the other spinner and you're ready to go. If you are drilling your own button holes, go ahead and skip this part. Otherwise, we need to pick the buttons that we're going to replace. I chose the bottom row button that was closest to the joystick, but you can pick whatever works for you. To remove the buttons, first remove the switch on the top. There are holes on the switch that are used to hold it in place. Simply bend the switch slightly to get the plastic holders to pop out. Now be mindful, the switch is still connected to wires, so you can either remove the switch or just move it to the side and zip it down like I do later when I'm done with all the wiring. But once the switch is off, unscrew the plastic nut on the bottom of the button and the button module will come out. Now that both buttons have been removed, we can install the spinners. So push the body of the spinner through the top and secure it using that plastic nut. Ensure you tighten it down so that it stays in place, and again, beware of any wires that are around the area. Next, attach the sensor module to the spinner body with the right orientation. The sensor module will have an indentation and it'll line up with one on the spinner module as shown here. Just simply push that sensor module indentation into alignment with the one on the spinner body and it will stay securely in place. All you got to do is repeat the same thing for the second spinner and you're done with this step. Now if you don't have a trackball, you can skip to the part where you start wiring up the spinners and combo board. But for those of you with a trackball like myself, go ahead and take out your 10mm nut driver and remove all 4 nuts on the trackball housing. I was a little worried that I might put the trackball housing in, sideways or backwards, so I put a little dark line with a Sharpie, both on the tank stick itself and on the trackball housing, so I'd know which way it went back when I was done. Optional, but food for thought. Once you get those 4 nuts off, you're going to have to remove the 4 screws that are holding the housing together. So go ahead and get your screwdriver, remove the 4 screws, and you'll be able to pull the housing off. Alright, you're doing good. This is about the halfway point. Let's keep pushing. Let's get it done. Now flip the trackball housing over carefully and set it down and remove the top. Then remove the trackball, and oh my goodness, my trackball roller bars need a good cleaning. Wow. A microfiber towel and a little elbow grease got all of these pretty clean. To continue on the project, we're going to remove the USB cable and make sure you take it out of the clamp as well. Go ahead and set that off to the side. We're going to replace it with the short USB cable that came in with your kit. Just plug one end into the port where you just unplugged the previous trackball USB cable. And then what we're going to do is run it back through the clamp. But for whatever reason, that was the hardest and tedious part of it. I could not get the cables to fit back in the clamp. So just take your time, work with it, be gentle, don't pull things too hard, and make sure everything lines up. And that when you close the housing, you're not going to pinch anything. Once you've conquered the trackball's heinous housing clamp, you can put the trackball back in and put the housing back on top, making sure you align the clamp when you close it. And then flip it over carefully, keeping it all together. Go ahead and tighten the housing down with the 4 screws that we removed earlier. Now take the trackball housing and put it back into position. I got my handy dandy line right there, so I know I got it right. Just make sure you put it back in the same position it was when you pulled it out. Now, you also want to be very careful on this part because there's a lot of wires and they can get in the way, and you have to also line it up, the housing, to the 4 bolts when you want to slide it back down to the position. Once you get this back in there, tighten down the 4 nuts to the 4 bolts so that you can secure it in place. This next part is optional, but I decided to remove the combo PC board from the TV XR attachment piece, and for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to mount the PCB combo board flush to any surface inside the Tankstick that I chose. And second, I wanted the combo board to take up as little space as possible, because everything in here is pretty tight. So you can set it up however you want, but this is what I chose to do. So to remove that white attachment piece, just remove the 4 screws from it and it'll come right off. And now is a really good time to look at your dip switches on your PCB combo board. There are 4 total, and the first 2 will determine how much boost in the counts per revolution that you want your spinners to have. So for example, if you have both switches 1 and 2 on, you'll get a 1600 CPR, and if you had them both off, then you get 200. The third switch is whether or not you want to switch the X and Y axis, and the 4th switch is the mixer disable switch. So if you turn it on, it'll disable mixing the trackball and the spinners. If you turn it off, then it will allow the mixer to combine both your spinners and your trackball into a single device. So set yours up how you like. I went with the first 3 switches on and the last one off. Alright, enough of that. Let's get going. We got to get this thing cabled up so we can get to gaming. So what you want to do now is start wiring some stuff up. So go ahead and grab one of the cables that's labeled A, and you're going to plug one end into the back of the spinner where the sensor is, into that white port, and then you're going to plug the other end into the PCB combo board into this port here. And then you're going to do the same thing for the second spinner, and it's just going to go into the next port over on the combo board here. Now you're going to take that short USB cable that's coming out of the USB housing and go ahead and plug it into one of the USB ports on the bottom of the combo board. This next part is optional. You can skip it if you like, but I decided to go ahead and mount my PCB combo board to the Tankstick. So I found a couple screws that would work and that would reach through the combo board where those old screws were and would set into the Tankstick really nicely. Alright, the last cord to hook up is the USB cable. You can use the original and just plug the white plug that you removed from the trackball panel when you opened up the housing and just plug that into the combo board here. Or you can pull it all out, you know, through the USB port and use the new one that comes with your kit. Alright, last thing, check all your wiring and make sure everything is secure and that nothing is rubbing and that the spinners are free from, you know, like any stray wires or other objects. I ended up tying down, you know, several of these wires gently with some zip ties to make sure that everything stays exactly where it's supposed to be for years to come. Alright, go ahead and put the bottom panel back on and the 8 screws back in, and when you flip it over, we're going to put the spinner knobs back on and just use the Allen wrench and tighten those down. And as a final touch, let's put these gorgeous spinner decals on. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, we are finally here, we are finally done. I hope you guys had a great time learning from this video. It's been pretty awesome being able to install these spinners, opening up new games, you know, like Arkanoid and Tempest, and I'm very glad that X-Arcade did this. You know, that way you don't have to buy an entire, you know, Tankstick Max. You can just add these and game on. So anyway, if you have any questions about the video or anything, or you had new ideas or suggestions, or you installed your spinners in a different way, you know, let us know in the comments. Love to see what people are doing out there. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next time.